Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something so mellow, so peculiar, and so surprisingly fishy that your brain might just float off before we even get to the punchline. You're about to hear the story of kings who danced to speak with fish, not metaphorically, not, oh look, he's fishing with grace. No, I mean literally, ceremonial hula dances used to summon tuna, whisper to sharks, and request seafood dinner with nothing more than some hip circles and a few flicks of banana leaves. And you thought synchronized swimming was impressive, so, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. Are you in bed, on the floor, in a hammock with a mosquito net and dreams of swordfish in tuxedos? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're walking along a beach, barefoot, and the sand is warm like freshly baked cornbread. The ocean wind is salty, soft, and mischievous, curling around your ears like it's whispering old secrets. You look down and see something strange: lines drawn in the sand. They're not footprints, they're too smooth, almost intentional. You bend down to touch them, and suddenly a drum beat. Not loud, but certain. You stand, and the world around you changes. It's not your beach anymore, not your era. The moon is fuller than it's ever dared to be, casting a silver glaze over palm trees that sway like they're stretching after a nap. A bonfire flickers in the distance, and silhouettes move around it, slow, rhythmic, deliberate. You start walking, the beat pulling you in. As you draw closer, the smell of roasted taro and salt pork creeps into your nostrils. You hear chanting low, round syllables that bounce like pebbles across a pond. The people are dancing, but not for fun. It's formal, sacred. They stomp, they sway, and they flick their wrists in patterns you can't quite grasp. One dancer, taller than the rest, wears a woven crown and a sash made of red and yellow feathers. You've just stumbled into a royal gathering, and not just any night. It's the beginning of makahiki season, the season of peace, of harvest, of Lono. Now, Lono isn't just some rain god. He's like if Thor and the farmer's almanac had a baby. He governs weather, fertility, and food. His season means no war, no conflict, and all the fish you can shake a stick at, assuming you're shaking it respectfully, with proper ceremonial flair. Tonight's dance is not for show. It's a plea, a welcome, a contract signed in sweat and rhythm. The king himself is dancing, and every movement has meaning. A hand rise for wind, a shoulder dip for rain, a hip twist, yes, that kind for the swell of the sea. You can feel the pulse of the ground beneath your feet. It's like a heartbeat, like the earth itself is watching. And then it happens, a shout from the shoreline. The fish have come, not just any fish. Akul big eyes scadlinting silver under moonlight, flinging themselves toward the shallows as if drawn by invisible strings. The villagers cheer but don't break rhythm. No one runs, no one rushes. The dance must finish. Because this isn't a coincidence. It's a conversation. The king takes a final bow, presses his palm to his chest, and exhales like he's releasing the last word of a long sentence. Only then do the people move. Nets are cast, buckets are filled, and the feast begins. You watch this unfold with a kind of gentle awe, like that time you realized your houseplants actually lean toward sunlight. It's real, but quietly magical. But wait, you feel something odd, a tug at your leg. You look down, it's a fish flopping, looking right at you. Now most people would panic, but here, in this moment, it feels polite, like the fish is saying, hey, thanks for dancing. Nice footwork. This, you realize, is the world of the aliʻi, the Hawaiian nobles who spoke the languages of gods, wind, and sea, who didn't yell into the ocean to get what they wanted. They danced, they whispered, they listened. Here's the weird part. That thing where the fish came ashore, mid-ceremony, that's not just folklore. It's documented in more than a few oral histories. Some anthropologists claim it was due to the vibrations in the ground. The drumming and stomping may have confused the fish. Others say it's coincidental. Fish follow the tide, they argue. But here's the thing, the tide doesn't usually follow choreography. Some say the fish were trained. Others say it was Lono himself, responding to his people's faith. And here's the kicker. The movements in the king's dance, they weren't just body language, they were code. A full visual language passed down through hula generations, encoding prayer, forecast, memory, and even instructions for fishing spots and agricultural cycles. Think of it like interpretive dance meets Google Maps. Historians still argue whether these dances were literal instructions or metaphorical offerings. But let's be honest, those fish showed up on cue. It's hard to argue with results when dinner volunteers itself. So, what makes a king dance? In most places, power means sitting, thrones, elevation, stillness. But here, a king's authority came not from shouting orders, but from becoming part of the rhythm, from proving he could call fish from the sea with nothing more than sinew, breath, and devotion, from leading not by pointing, but by stepping. And that, dear dreamer, is your first glimpse into the world you've entered, a place where the ocean listens, where dancers are dialects, where fish don't just swim, they answer. You turn away from the fire now, still hearing the drums, but softer, like your ears are underwater. A breeze runs across your arms and it smells like salt, tea leaf, and smoked eel. You take a breath, slow and steady, and as you begin to walk toward the jungle path, deeper into the island, your feet start to move with a little rhythm of their own. Your hips, maybe, just a little. Don't worry, no one's watching. Well, except the fish. You don't remember deciding to follow the path, but your feet carry you there anyways, soft moss underfoot, lit by 1,000 moonbeams that slip through the canopy like strands of glass. Every now and then you hear a rustle, a bird, maybe, or some very judgmental gecko. The jungle is alive, but not threatening. It's like walking through the belly of a lullaby. Up ahead, you notice something fluttering. Cloth, no leaves. Giant tea leaves, woven and strung like garlands, hung between two carved wooden poles. You duck under them and emerge into a clearing that smells of mud, ash, and something surprisingly sweet, maybe fermented guava. A small crowd has gathered around a figure standing on a rock. He's holding a long wooden spear, carved with spirals that shimmer with red clay. In his other hand, a bundle of fresh tea leaves, dripping wet. Around his neck, a necklace of shark teeth and polished shell, and across his brow, a thin white line drawn in chalk. He isn't dancing, not yet, but he's about to. This, you realize, is the Kaka Alelo, a kind of ceremonial speaker, or herald. His job, announce the rituals, channel the gods, and sometimes, just sometimes, make fish show up out of nowhere. He looks down at you, his expression half smirk, half mystery. You brought the moon, he says. You want to answer, but your mouth doesn't cooperate. Instead, he begins to chant, and the words curl into the air like smoke. With a flick of his wrist, he raises the spear, and the crowd hushes. Then, slowly, very slowly, he begins to move. Left foot out, right foot in. The bundle of tea leaves circles overhead, dripping water onto the ground in perfect, musical drops. And as the rhythm builds, you feel the pull again. That low, almost subsonic hum in the earth, the kind of vibration you feel in your ribs, like bass at a concert, except instead of dubstep it's destiny. The dance he performs is called Kahula Hula, Ana, Ikia, the fish drawing dance. Now, you've probably never had to dance to make dinner show up. You just DoorDash some sushi or wave at your air fryer. But back in the days of the aliʻi, the elite caste of Hawaiian nobles, this kind of performance was serious business. Done wrong, nothing but seafoam and disappointment. Done right, enough fish to feed a village, and the tea leaves, they weren't just props. These leaves were sacred thought to cleanse energy, summon blessings, and, in this case, create an irresistible signal to ocean dwellers. Think of them as the original Bluetooth device. The pairing problems. As the speaker dances, others join in. The villagers sway in waves, forming patterns that mimic the motion of schools of fish. Arms slice through the air like fins. Feet shuffle in concentric circles, the same way mackerel move to evade predators. It's beautiful. It's surreal. And then, as if rehearsed with Poseidon himself, thump a sound. From the trees. Not the sea. You turn. From the shadows emerges a priest, his face marked with black ash, carrying a ceremonial bowl carved from breadfruit wood. Inside, a thick paste made of crushed kukui nuts, lime, and that crab shell. He dips a finger in and begins smearing it across the dancers' foreheads. You realize you're witnessing the way, blessing a preparatory ritual for speaking with non-human beings. The paste is believed to open spiritual channels, much like a strong Wi-Fi signal with no neighbors clogging the bandwidth. And yes, This all sounds like a fever dream with better lighting. But here's where things get really interesting. After the blessing, the dancers form to rows. In between them, the speaker walks with the spear, chanting not in Hawaiian, but in something older, rhythmic, strange, and kind of bubbly. You don't recognize the language because, according to legend, it's the tongue of the deep. This is where it gets weird. According to several old accounts, passed down by lineages of kahuna priests and recited in twilight ceremonies, there existed a dialect specifically used for communication with marine life. Not full conversations, no one's reciting Shakespeare to see bass, but distinct phrases, rhythms, and tones designed to signal harmony, warning, or request. Some modern scholars dismiss this as acoustic coincidence. Others point to known examples of humans training animals with rhythmic signals, like dolphins responding to clicks, or your cat mysteriously appearing only when you open the tuna can. But here, under this sky, in this clearing, with the tea leaves dripping and the chants rising, you believe it. The speaker turns his face to the ocean and lets out a final cry, high, sharp, and it echoes. The jungle quiets, even the wind holds its breath, and then you hear it. A splash, another, then a full roar of water as a school of fish hurls itself through the surf. Silver rocks catch the moonlight, leaping like acrobats, as if the ocean itself is applauding. The crowd erupts into song, into cheers, into soft clapping and tears. But the speaker, he just bows, taps the spear once on the ground, and says, "Ai, let's eat." You blink. A woman walks by holding a tray made from woven palm, stacked high with fish wrapped in tea leaves and roasted with hot stones. She offers you one. You accept it with a nod, because apparently even your dream self has manners. The fish is salty, tender, smoky, and you swear it tastes like applause. You sit by the fire now, full and drowsy, watching the children practice the dance they just saw. Their arms are still clumsy, but their hearts are in it. And maybe, one day, they'll lead the ritual themselves. You overhear a conversation between two elders. One says the fish came because of the moon. The other says, it was the dance. They go back and forth until a third elder interrupts. Maybe the fish were just hungry for a good show. And they all laugh. Here's a twist you didn't expect. In one journal from an early 19th century sailor who lived with a Hawaiian family for a season, he described the village leader as a man who could move his hips and feed 300 people. The captain thought it was an insult. It was actually the highest compliment, because here, dancing feeds, dancing speaks, dancing leads. Even historians still debate whether the aliʻi danced because they believed it worked or because the people believed in them more when they danced. The academic term is ritual performance as authority reinforcement. I prefer fish, respect, good choreography. So you rest your head on your knees now, the fire crackling low, the tea leaves whispering in the wind. You think about the rhythm in your body, the pulse in your heel, the soft echo of drums in your chest, and somewhere, off the coast, under the rolling tida, fish remembers your name. You wake not with a jolt, but with that gentle unraveling that happens when a dream has finished its story but not quite closed the book. The fire's out, the leaves are still, there's mist on the grass now, and the moon, once proud and high, is hanging lower like it's watching you, but politely pretending not to dot you. Stretch, or maybe the stretch happens to you, and then the air shifts. Something behind you, wet, slippery. You turn and see nothing, but the scent is unmistakable. Ocean, salt, and something briny, like the inside of a conch shell that's been listening to secrets for too long. There's movement just past the trees, so you follow. You always follow now, don't you? The path leads you to a cliffside where the air smells colder and waves smash against rock with the kind of dramatic flair that suggests they might have backup dancers. Down below, the sea froths like it's trying to form words in bubbles and foam, and perched on a ledge, wrapped in a cloak of kappa cloth patterned with shark teeth and banana flowers, sits a boy. He's no more than 12, but he hums with authority. You sit beside him without asking, and he doesn't look at you, just speaks. You want to see them, huh? You're not sure if you mean fish, spirits, or ancient secrets. Maybe all of it. He reaches into a pouch and pulls out a bundle of bones, not human fish bones, sharp and translucent, arranged like puzzle pieces. These are from a he says, an octopus. You glance around. The tide is rising, and the cliffs are slick with spray. The boy is calm, as if he were made of basalt himself. My tutu says, if you whisper to the bones, the way your great-grandfather whispered to the net, they'll take you under. You wait. For a smile, a winksome sign, he's joking. None comes. Instead, he presses the bones into your palm, cold and wet. But don't ask for too much, he adds. The hee listens, but she's moody, like my auntie. And with that, he slides down the rock, vanishing behind a curtain of vines. You sit there, fishbones in hand, and suddenly the air feels different, dense, charged. A wave hits the base of the cliffhand, something rises. At first it looks like a boulder, then a head dot, then arms dot. No, not human. The shape is too fluid, too many-limbed. An octopus, yes, but massive. Its skin shimmers in bronze and purple, and its eyes, deep, slow, and too wise for comfort. It hovers, half in and half out of the surf, watching you. You freeze, and then, almost automatically, your fingers twitched, not to run, not to move. A dance, one foot shifts backward. Your shoulders roll. The bones in your palm tap gently against each other like wind chimes. You don't know the steps, but something ancient takes over. You've watched enough now to understand that it's not about form, it's about offering. And the hee responds. One long arm lifts in rhythm, a second coils delicately, echoing your movement. It's not threatening, it's polite, participatory. The two of you creature and dreamer dance together, on opposite shores of reality, and just as suddenly, it sinks beneath the waves, leaving behind only foam. But the bones in your hand, they're warm now. You slip them into your pouch, because apparently you have one now. Dream logic is convenient here and walk inland again, heart thudding in a rhythm you swear isn't yours. You're not the first to have danced with a he. In fact, there's a story, a real one, buried in the chants of the North Shore of a young aliʻi who was tasked with proving his worthiness not through war, but through communion. He was sent to a cove known for dangerous currents and told not to return until he had spoken with the sea. 3 days passed, no sign of him. On the fourth, villagers saw flashes in the surf, purple and bronze spirals twisting in tandem with a lone figure. When he returned, soaked and silent, he said only, "She told me where the reef begins." That king would go on to chart fishing routes, still used generations later. Did he hallucinate from hunger? Was it an elaborate training illusion, crafted by priests? Or did he really speak to an octopus spirit, who whispered tide maps into his soul? Historians, naturally, rolled their eyes. They cite ritual fasting, possible fungal exposure, and the power of storytelling in reinforcing leadership narratives, but none of them explain why. Even now, fishermen in that region still toss tea leaves into the waves before setting sail, just in case she's watching. They say, you reach a grove of kukui trees now, their leaves whispering riddles in the wind. One falls and lands on your shoulder, soft-veined, full of light. You remember what the boy said, don't ask for too much, but what if you don't ask at all? What if you just listen? You sit and you do. Crickets murmur. A distant conch shell blows, low and echoing. Somewhere near, water trickles over stones in a rhythm that sounds suspiciously like laughter. You exhale, and in that breath, something settles. You're not in a story anymore. You are the story. The bones hum softly from your pouch. The dance remains in your legs. Subtle now, like a memory you haven't quite had yet. And as your eyelids drift, heavy with salt and wonder, the cliffs behind you shimmer. For just a moment, as if she is still watching, just making sure your steps stay honest. There's a smell, now earthy, thick, and slightly burnt, like wet leaves that have been smoldering under the sun too long. You open your eyes to find yourself in a new clearing. But this time the jungle is tighter. The sky barely visible through layers of dark green canopy. The air feels heavier here, almost like it's pushing against your skin with quiet insistence. Ahead, flickering shadows move in time with a low crackling soundfire, but not a roaring blaze. No, this is a carefully tended ring of coals, glowing red beneath a covering of stones and leaves. AIMU pit, a traditional underground oven, and surrounding it, seated cross-legged in the dirt, are men and women dressed in cloaks of kapa and woven lahola, each holding a single item, a stick, a stone, or a piece of charcoal. No one speaks. They're waiting. At the edge of the circle stands a tall man, with wide shoulders, wrapped in a cloak, dyed with turmeric and kukui ash. On his head rests a simple crown woven, not of gold or shells, but of pounded bark and dried breadfruit leaves. He's not a priest, he's not a king, he's both. This is a time before the island had names foreigners could pronounce, before hotels, before ukuleles and postcards. This is when power came from Pono righteousness, balance, alignment. And tonight, this man must prove his alignment with the land, the gods, and the sea. How? Through a story, told with his body. He steps into the center of the circle, and without a word, begins to move. His feet tap gently in a 6-count rhythm, and his hands flow outward like vines seeking sunlight. You can't decipher the steps not yet, but your body responds anyway. Leaning forward in sync, breath held. This is no performance, it's a petition. He's asking for rain to feed the kalo fields, asking for wind to carry canoes safely to other shores, asking for fish to return to the reef, and maybe most importantly, asking that the volcano, goddess Peel, stay asleep just a little longer. His hands suddenly slash downward, fingers pointed like spears. He drops to one knee, slaps the ground, and a voice from the circle responds not with words, but with a sharp clap, then another, then all around you. Hands strike earth in rhythm, forming a heartbeat that wraps around the clearing. You've stepped into a form of communication older than writing, older than empire. Hula kane, a sacred style of hula used not for entertainment, but for invocation. Here's something you probably didn't know. Hawaiian hula wasn't always about grass skirts and pretty smiles. The earliest forms, those practiced in secret groves and on lava beds, were silent except for chants and breath. Dancers were often forbidden to speak for days before the ceremony. Their diets were limited, their bodies purified. This wasn't theater. It was theology, and fish played a bigger role than you'd guess, you see. Hawaiians didn't just eat fish, they knew them. Each species had its own god, its own rules, its own mood. You didn't catch a uhu parrotfish the same way. You'd pursue a manini convict tang, and you certainly didn't dance the same way for a wrasse as you did for an eel. Tonight's dance, you realize, is for kala, the unicorn fish. Sharp, armored, and highly territorial, kala were often symbols of confrontation, but also of guidance. In stories passed down from canoe navigators, kala were known to swim alongside boats when storms approached, warning of danger ahead. The man in the center imitates the kala now, spinning low with one arm outstretched like a blade, slicing the air in wide circular arcs. His head tilts sharply, mimicking the fish's ridged forehead. Then he pauses, arm raised, and the entire circle exhales. A woman steps forward and hands him a long, narrow leaf key. Again, he places it gently on the coals, and the scent changes. Smoke rises, sweet and biting. You hear a voice behind you murmur, "If the fish are listening, now's the time." You turn to ask who spoke, but there's no one there, only trees, flickering in firelight. Now, here's the strange part. Later records written by confused missionaries and curious botanists refer to ceremonies like this as pagan fish dances. Some even thought it was superstition, a kind of elaborate superstaging to hide the real work of fishing. But more recent scholars are starting to reevaluate that view. Turns out, many of these dances encoded environmental observations, tides, spawning cycles, reef conditions. They weren't just praying for fish, they were tracking them. In other words, what looked like mysticism was actually data science with better outfits. And the best part, no one wrote it down. It lived in the hips, in the knees, in the breath, in the slap of a foot against dirt, at exactly the moment the stars aligned with the reef crest. No charts, no spreadsheets, just bodies, moving, remembering. The man in the center finishes with a single, slow bow. The circle begins to chant, low and rhythmic, like the ocean itself has started breathing through their mouths. You close your eyes, and suddenly you can see the fish. They're swimming in patterns that mirror the dance. One slashes left, so does the man. One dives low, his knees follow, and then all the kala turn at once, shimmering silver in the black water, and disappear into the reef, gone. But not lost. There where they need to be, and so are you. Someone hands you a small stone carved with lines, ancient looping marks like waves and eyes. You're told it's a memory stone, used by elders to recall chants and genealogies. You trace the carvings with your thumb. They feel familiar, like steps in the dirt, like ripples in a tide pool, like dance as the fire burns low. The dancers rest. Some sleep. Others hum quietly. No one speaks of the fish, or the gods, or the performance. They don't need to. It's already been said. You wrap the memory stone in cloth and tuck it into your pouch, next to the bones from the hi'i. Your collection grows, but more than that, grow. Not in size, in rhythm, in knowing, in the ability to understand the difference between asking for something and dancing for it. Dawn sneaks in quietly, not like the movies with dramatic golden rays, but soft grayish, slightly damp, and smelling faintly of overripe fruit. You stir under a thatch roof that seems to have grown itself overnight. There's a blanket of woven pandanus leaves over your shoulders. A bird you don't recognize calls out with the attitude of someone who hasn't had coffee yet. You sit up slowly, careful not to disturb the pouch beside you, now heavier with fish bones, memory stones, and the lingering weight of stories. Today feels different. Not bad, just curious, like the island is about to show you something it doesn't reveal to tourists, or even most locals. The kind of thing that only becomes visible when you've slept through for sacred dances, eaten smoke-kissed snapper, and locked eyes with a sea creature that may or may not be your distant cousin. You follow a trail bordered with blue flowers and alpaca. They're called, legend says they were once lovers, torn apart, one living by the sea, the other in the mountains. Even their petals look like half a flower, because in this world, even heartbreak grows beautifully. The path dips into shadow and you enter a cave. Not a spooky, bat-infested nightmare, more like a cathedral sculpted by lava and time. Cool air brushes your skin, and the walls glisten with moisture, and ancient pigment symbols dance across the stone waves. Eyes, spiral fish, and rows of tick-like notches. You run your fingers along one. It's worn smooth from centuries of touch. Suddenly, behind you, a laugh. Low, husky, amused. You turn and see her. A woman. Middle-aged, barefoot, powerful without effort. She wears no crown, no robe, just a long skirt dyed the color of rusted iron, and a necklace made entirely of tiny puka shells. Her hair is streaked with silver and tied in a knot, though several strands. Clearly couldn't care less about order. She looks at you like you just mispronounced something important. You walked in here like you were invited. She says, not unkindly, which means the cave probably likes you. Don't ruin it. You try to respond, but she waves you off. Save your voice, use your feet. Come. She begins to dance, right there, barefoot on the cave floor. No music, no drums, just breath and motion and the occasional grunt of effort. You follow not because she tells you to, but because your bones feel like they need to. She moves fast. This isn't the gentle, poetic sway of last night. This is sharp, angular. Her knees cut sideways like crab legs. Her shoulders snap like sails. In wind, her feet kick up dust that spirals like incense. You're dancing inside a language. She stops. You know where we are. She asks. You shake your head. This is Polly How, she says. One of the oldest temples on this side of the island. Before the chiefs, before the chants, before even the names. She walks over to the wall and points to a groove carved into the rock, nearly invisible unless the light hits it just right. See that? You nod. That's a fish track. You blink. A what? She smirks. Ancient Hawaiians believed certain fish left marks when they passed through sacred waters underground. This one, she traces the groove, is from a mono kaya, a pale goatfish. It's said they swim through the lava tubes at night, whispering secrets to those who can hear. You feel the pouch at your side vibrate slightly. Nope, definitely. Not normal. She continues. The old dancers used these caves to practice without being seen. Too dangerous outside. Too many eyes. But in here, she sweeps her hand. The fish could listen, and sometimes they'd respond. She leans in close, her eyes catching flecks of cave light. There's a story of a girl who danced in here for 3 days. No food, no water, just movement and breath. When she finished, she walked out of the cave and found the beach full of fish, every kind, just waiting. She shrugs. People called it a miracle. She doesn't say what she thinks. You kind of don't want to know. You glance back at the wall, and in that moment, you swear the fish track moves. Just a ripple. Like the rock has memory, like it's watching you. And then you remember something she said. Use your feet. You take a step, and another, and your body begins to fall into rhythm, not hers, but yours. A rhythm you didn't know you had. Your arms rise, your knees bend, your breath sinks with the silence, and the silence becomes music. You dance the pattern of the Mono Kea. You don't know how you know, but you know. The path of the fish, the angles of its turns, the flick of its tail, the pause before it bites. The woman watches, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You finish with a stomp that echoes far longer than it should, then silence, and then drip, water begins to fall from the ceiling in measured drops, landing in a natural bowl carved into the stone floor. 1, 2, 3. You walk over. Inside the bowl is not water. It's oil, clear, luminous, glowing with light from nowhere. She gestures. Take it. For later, when the tide turns against you. You dip your fingers in and feel warmth, like sunlit skin. You pour it into a small gourd she gives you and place it in your pouch. Now, fish bones, memory stone, and miracle oil all ride beside you. You're a collector of oddities and maybe truths. The woman walks with you to the cave mouth. There's more to learn, she says. But for now, eat. She hands you a fruit you don't recognize, round, purple, soft. You bite. It tastes like mango, lime, and something floral you can't place. And then she vanishes, not in a puff of smoke. She just steps behind a tree and doesn't come out the other side. You're alone again, but you're also not, because from the cave, you hear it, a single slap of a fishtail against rock. Like applause, or maybe a blessing. You sling the pouch over your shoulder and head back toward the trail. The fish are watching and listening. And you suspect so is the island. You're starting to notice something. It's not the magic, it's not the fish, it's not the fish. It's not even the talking caves, or the ocean that smells like salted caramel and mystery. It's the silence, the kind that follows you like a friendly dog, not empty. Silence attentive, silence like the world is leaning in, waiting for you to say something worth echoing back. Today, it follows you to the edge of a windswept cliff where the earth drops away with theatrical flair, like a stage curtain revealing the Pacific in full, shimmering regalia. You sit, legs dangling over an impossible height, and watch the waves chew hungrily at the rock below. Behind you, a single trail of footprints in the dirt. Ahead, a low rumble. Not thunder. Drums. You scramble up and turn toward the sound. What you find is strange, and that's saying something. A circle of men, all shirtless, smeared with ash and seaweed, stand facing outward. They wear feathered anklets that rustle when they move and carry short clubs carved from koa wood. Their faces are painted with streaks that resemble the gills of a shark, and in the center of their circle, wrapped in a robe of golden fiber, stands a man older than stone. He is dancing, barefoot on black lava rock, with the energy of someone 30 years younger and 5 times more hydrated. This, you learn, is the king, not a figurehead, not a ceremonial title, a real, breathing, sweating aliʻi, the high chief of this region. His name is Kamehameha. Yes, that Kamehameha, the man who would one day unify the islands, who once lifted the Naha stone as a teenager like it was a piece of luggage, who trained with warriors, wrestled gods in dreams, and learned the art of leadership not through bloodlines but through balance. But today, he's dancing, and it's not pretty, it's furious. His arms slice like spears, his legs stomp like hammers, his eyes stay locked on the horizon as if daring the ocean to blink first. You crouch low, heart thumping, unsure whether to watch or look away. A younger man whispers near you, never taking his eyes off the king. This is how he calls the shark. You want to clarify that this is a metaphor, but then a fin slices the water beyond the cliff. A shark, real, large, pacing the shoreline like a sentry. It circles 3 times, then disappears beneath the surf, and the king he stops, breathless, sweating, glowing. Somehow, he turns to his warriors, and they raise their clubs in silent salute. You finally ask, because why not? He just called that shark. The young man nods. They come for him, always have, since he was a boy. He used to dive with them. Said they taught him how to move without making a splash. You don't even know how to move with making a splash. But here's where the lines between myth and history really start to blur. There are old stories like really old, of certain aliʻi, who had a spiritual connection with specific animals. The word is aumakua, personal or family guardian spirit, often taking the form of a shark, owl, turtle, or even a swarm of glowy moths, if you're lucky. Kamehameha's aumakua, Most say it was the shark. According to oral accounts that kind Western historians love to raise eyebrows at, he could enter the water and walk among them untouched. They'd swim beside him like advisors. One story even claims a shark led him through a reef channel during a battle retreat, saving his life. The academic term is mythic kingship projection. I prefer, dude danced with sharks and didn't die, but it's not just flair. These dances weren't random, they were codes, movements tuned to waves, to currents, to cycles of the sea. Even now, Hawaiian fishermen still talk about listening with your body, not literally hearing the fish, but feeling when the tide shifts, when the water hums differently, when the ocean knows something you don't. And apparently, King Kamehameha knew how to ask questions with his knees. You watch him now as he walks to the edge of the cliff and sits, just like you did earlier, feet dangling, expression calm. He pulls a small bundle from his waist, a tea leaf packet, tied with bone. He unwraps it. Inside, fish, dried, salted, neatly folded like parchment. He eats. No one else moves until he finishes. Respect, fear, maybe both. You sit beside him now, unsure how you got there, but too deep to question it. He speaks without looking at you. They think the dance is for the fish. You wait. It's not, he says. You tilt your head. It's for the sea, he continues. The sea gives the fish, but the sea is jealous, fickle. You don't dance for the gift, you dance for the giver. He leans forward, spits into the wind, and stands. Only fools chase fish, he adds. The wise become part of the current. Then he's gone. You sit for a long time, letting his words soak into your bones like sun-warmed rain. Behind you, the warriors begin a different chant, lower, like the start of a storm's dream. And beneath your feet, the rock vibrates. With memory, you rise and walk the trail alone again. But something's different. Your steps feel quieter, heavier. Yes, but rooted. Like you're not walking on the land anymore. You're walking with it. And somewhere offshore, a fin slices the water. Not hunting. Just watching. The air changes again. You know it now, not as a trick of weather, but as a mood. The island doesn't just have weather. It feels. And today, it feels mischievous. The wind tugs at your clothes like a playful cousin. The leaves overhead chatter too fast to follow. Even the birds seem to be laughing about something they won't explain. You follow the laughter. It leads you down a slope where the earth softens into marsh, and reeds whisper your approach to each other. The path grows narrow, flanked by taro, paddies gleaming with early sunlight. You pass a row of young girls pounding poi with practiced rhythm, their hands strong and sticky with starch. They giggle as you go by, then return to their work like nothing happened. Ahead, a pavilion woven from driftwood and palm stands crookedly beneath a banyan tree large enough to host its own rain cloud. You duck inside, and instantly your skin prickles with cold. Not the air. The presence. She stands in the middle, back turned, arms raised as if holding invisible threads in the wind. Her long hair fans out behind her like kelp. She wears a cloak made of woven hair, black-brown, silver, even blonde. It moves in the breeze like it's breathing. You don't speak, because obviously, this is not someone you interrupt. She turns. Her face is sharp, but not severe. Her eyes are clouded with age, but her gaze pierces like moonlight through steam. She smiles, just barely. About time you got here, she says. Your head's been arriving for days, but your feet are slow. She walks in a circle, studying. You've danced, she observes, poorly, but you've danced. You resist the urge to defend yourself. She raises a hand, and from above, something descends, thin threads, barely visible, stretching from the banyan branches like spider silk. She pulls one taut between her fingers. This, she says, is wave memory. The way the ocean remembers motion. You blink. The ocean ... remembers. Of course, she replies, as if you've asked where the birds can blink. It forgets nothing. Every paddle, every toe dip, every slap of a fishtail stored. She tugs the thread. You feel it in your gut, like a drop in an elevator. You've been leaving ripples behind you, she says, even when you meant to tiptoe. She lets the thread go. It zings upward and vanishes. This is why you need the lua o mona. You wait. She doesn't explain. Classic. Instead, she reaches behind her and produces a cloth bundle, bound and dried. Banana fiber. She unties it carefully and reveals ... a lock of hair. Long, black, braided with tiny shells and dried seaweed. You try to hide your confusion. She sees it anyway. You think dance is in the feet, she says. That's just the volume knob. The tuning is here. She points to her head. Hair listens. You don't know how to respond. Each strand is an antenna. She continues. Catch the wind. Read the tide. Hear the tone of incoming fish. She hands you the braid. You take it carefully, like it might bite. This belonged to a priestess navigator. She never sailed without dancing her course first. She could chart reefs just by facing into the wind and humming. She leans in. You hum. Wrong reef eats your boat. That's fair. You ask, is that what the lua o mona is? She chuckles. No, that's just hair. She walks to a corner and sweeps aside a mat, revealing a circle of stones etched with spirals. This is lua o mona, she says. The hole of the ocean. It's not really a hole. It's where stories get soaked in salt, where dancers go and no one remembers the steps. You stare. Sit. You do. She circles you 3 times, then begins to hum. Low, steady, a note that feels older than speech. The stones warm beneath you, your breath slows, and suddenly, you see her not, her now, her, before, a young woman on a canoe, arms raised to the stars, dancing, chanting, laughing with her hair loose in the wind, fish leaping alongside her, drawn not to bait, but to the sound of her song. Then silence, waves, years. Her hair, once windblown, begins to thin. Her dance slows, but her feet remember. Always, you open your eyes. She's sitting across from you. Now, silent. In her hand, the braid. You didn't realize you'd returned it. You'll need a piece, she says, to speak with what's coming. She tears off a small portion, just a few strands, and ties them to a pendant made of bone and coral. You hang it around your neck. It tingles like a distant antenna coming online. She nods once. Now go. The fish are changing course. You leave the hut with the wind in your ears, the hair bone pendant brushing against your chest, and your mind filled with threads and whispers. You pass the Toro girls again. This time, they stop pounding. One of them looks up and says, "You're humming." You hadn't noticed, but you are. And the fish, they're listening. The trail disappears, not in a dramatic vines grab your ankles kind of way, more like it just ... stops. One moment, dirt beneath your feet. The next, sand, warm, fine, and whispering as it shifts beneath your steps, like it's trying to remember who you are. You've reached the edge of the island, but not the edge. An edge, a place maps, skipped not out of forgetfulness, but respect. Before you, the sea stretches wide and shimmering, but it's not empty. They're just off the coast as a smaller island, more like a bump, really. Flat ringed in jagged black rock, and crowned with low shrubs and nesting seabirds who glare at you like bouncers at a secret club. No boats in sight, no bridge. And yet, you know you're going. Beside you, nestled among salt-bleached driftwood, sits a canoe. Narrow. Carved. Waiting. You don't question it anymore. You step in, and it moves. Not because you paddled, but because the tide knows. It lifts the canoe like an offering and begins to push. The water beneath you is so clear it looks fake, like someone turned the contrast way up and forgot to turn it back down. Below, you see fish. Lots of them, but not swimming in any direction. That makes sense. They're circling, not random chaos, deliberate spirals, like they're drawing something. You lean over the side to watch. The patterns tighten, twist, pulse, and then you hear it. Not a voice, not exactly, a sound like distant chanting underwater, but too rhythmic to be human. Your pendant are one tide, with priestess hair tingles. Your canoe bumps gently against rock. You're here, the island of flying fish. Lanai, well, a version of it, not the tourist-friendly golf course Lanai. This is the old one, the one that only rises when enough people remember it. The air is different here, lighter. The wind smells like mango skin and coral dust, and something electric. You step onto the stone shore and hear a high-pitched whistle from above. You look up and freeze, because they're flying, actual fish, slicing through the air in short arcing glides, tails fluttering like kites. They leap from wave to wave, shimmering under the morning light, and vanish into the sea as suddenly as they appear. One of them buzzes past your ear like a tiny silver missile. You blink, and standing there, barefoot on a flat rock, is a boy, maybe 10, maybe 100. He's wearing a necklace of fish scales and a tunic dyed blue with indigo and octopus ink. His smile is sharp, not unkind, just exact, like he knows jokes you're not ready to hear yet. He holds a drum, but he doesn't beat it. He tosses it to you. Go on, he says. Ask. You hold the drum awkwardly. He taps his own chest. The fish want to beat. You raise the drum and strike it once. Nothing. He raises an eyebrow. You're asking for directions, not a favor. You try again. 2 beats. Then a pause, then 3 more. The flying fish return dozens. They begin circling the rock, their bodies moving in rhythm with your drumming. Their glides longer, smoother. It feels like they're drawing maps mid-air. The boy watches. Better, he says. Still not polite, but better. You stop drumming. What are they? He shrugs. Messengers, scouts, gossipers. They fly to avoid getting eaten, sure, but mostly, they just like the view. You sit down. He does too. They used to come when kings danced, he says. Used to land on their shoulders, whisper things. Whisper. He nods. Fish don't have tongues like yours, but they speak in flips, in silence, in where they choose to fall. You don't know what that means. He sees it on your face, laughs. Some say, if one lands near your left ear, it's bad luck. Right ear, good harvest. If to land on your back, the oceans, giving you something. Like what? He shrugs again. A storm, a lover, a reason to leave. He stands. Come on. You follow him to a stone circle near the edge of the island. In the center is a shallow pool no bigger than a basket. Inside, fish bones arranged like clock hands. They spin slowly, as if guided by currents you can't feel. He watches them, tilts his head. Tonight, they'll come ashore, he says. The big ones, the ones with spots like stars. Why? He doesn't answer, just says, you'll need to learn the listening chant. He hands you a small stone tablet, etched with patterns that look suspiciously like fish spines. Don't speak it aloud, he warns. Chant it with your blood, your bones, your breath. Okay, sure, no pressure. He gestures for you to sit and closes his eyes. You do the same. The wind stills. The pendant on your neck tightens, almost like it's pulling your chin down, and then you feel it. A rhythm, not a heartbeat, not quite breathing, somewhere in between. The chant isn't words, it's awareness. You can sense the fish miles away, shoals moving in spirals. You know where they're headed, why they're swimming that way, what they want. They're not just swimming, they're pointing, giving directions. To you. You open your eyes. The boy is gone, but the stone tablet remains in your lap. You pocket it. The canoe waits. You step aboard. And as it carries you back, the fish fly alongside, just a few, just for a moment. But enough. Enough to say, we see you now. Enough to whisper, this way. You're not sure what time it is anymore, not just in the din life. Time here feels like something borrowed, then misplaced, then turned into a lay and thrown into the ocean. The sun is lower, but not quite setting. The shadows are longer, stretching behind you like gentle reminders. You step off the canoe, feet touching sand you've touched before, but it feels different now. Softer, a little warmer, like the island is holding your weight more carefully. Up ahead, drums, not the summoning kind, not the royal kind. These are low, slow, and loose. You follow them through a grove of trees whose branches twist like they've been eavesdropping on secrets for centuries. Light filters through, like it's trying not to interrupt, and there he is, slumped sideways, in a hammock made of barcloth and fronds, snoring like he's composing a new ocean wave pattern. A piglet rests against his leg. 2 birds sit on the branch above him, and next to him, propped against the stump, is a conch shell bigger than your head. He opens one eye, then the other. Don't be weird about it, he mutters, wiping his nose. I was awake, spiritually. You sit cross-legged in the dirt. He stretches, every bone cracks in protest. You're the one who danced with the cave, he says. You nod. He grins. You lived. That's apparently enough introduction. He pulls out a bowl of mashed something breadfruit, maybe, and begins eating with 2 fingers. Well, you're just in time, he says, through a mouthful. He's having dreams again. You squint. Who? He points behind you, and you see the hut. Round, covered in seagrass. Smoke curling out like the hut is exhaling after a long day. Inside, a king, not a chief in full regalia, just a man, asleep, wrapped in kapa, snoring gently. He's been dreaming. For 4 days, the hammock man explains. Happens sometimes, when the tide and moon get too close. You walk closer, and the scent from the hut hits you like a memory you never had. Roasted breadfruit, salt, and whale breath. Yes, that's a thing now. Heavy, mossy, like the deepest parts of the sea. Inside, the king twitches. Then speaks. Not loudly, but clearly. I saw the whales turn their eyes to shore. He mumbles. They sang with the voice of Annette. The hammock man nods, chewing. Yeah, that part again. You sit on the threshold, watching the king speak nonsense that doesn't feel like nonsense. The fish are counting us, he says next. They know how many we've eaten. You shiver, because that sentence feels like it has teeth. Hammock man, he never gives a name, leans in. He's dreaming in the language of tide. We call it that. It only happens every few decades. When a king gets old, when the fish get quiet. Why quiet? Because they're listening. You look at the king again. He's still murmuring. The reef is tired. The eels are holding back the rain. The wind smells like bamboo that's never bent. He pauses. Then, suddenly, sits bolt upright. His eyes are open, but they don't see you. They see through you. He speaks, not to you, but through you. There will be a red moon, and a silver fish with no shadow will rise. And when it speaks, it will have my voice. Then he collapses back into sleep. You exhale. Heart. The hammock man shrugs. Prophecy stuff. You get used to it. You're not sure you will. He stands up, now, stretching again, and hands you something wrapped in palm. Here, he says, he wanted you to have it. Before he started dreaming, you unwrap it. It's a small carved fish, made of lava rock, with an eye inset from Mother Earth. Smooth, but warm. You feel the pendant on your chest, pulse in time with your breath. He said it knows the path when you forget it. Hammock man adds, said it swims with your memory when your legs go dumb. You hold it tightly. The king stirs. Mumbles. And then sings. Low and broken, but familiar. A melody. You've heard it before. It was in the cave, in the dance of the woman with the hair of wind. It was in the sky over Lanai, when the fish flew in spirals. It was you, your melody coming from his mouth. You rise, stunned, and back away from the hut. The fish in your hand glows slightly in the palm light. The hammock man smiles. Well, you're in it now. You want to ask what that means, but you already know. It means the fish have answered, and now, they're waiting for you to speak. Walk toward the sea. The pendant hums. The fish in your palm pulses, and the king keeps dreaming. The wind tonight tastes different, less salty, more metallic, like someone dragged a silver coin through the tide and then polished it with moonlight. You walk along the beach, your toes sinking into the cool sand, and above you, the sky is a mess of stars scattered, urgent, like they're whispering gossip you can almost understand. The carved fish in your palm hums softly. A vibration you now associate with this is going to be weird, isn't it? And sure enough, it is, because there, standing in the surf, with her arms held out like she's balancing the whole ocean on her fingertips, is a girl, or maybe a woman, hard to say. Her hair hangs long, soaked and shimmering like eelskin, and she wears a skirt made entirely of silver scales. They clink when she breathes. You pause. She doesn't turn, just says, "It's nearly time." You approach. The surf hits your ankles cold, firm, like it's checking your balance. She finally looks at you. In her eyes. Not brown. Not blue. Clear. Like the inside of a moonstone. She nods once and begins. Walking along the shoreline. You follow, because of course you do. After a while, she starts to hum. Not a song exactly, more like a weaving tones threading through each other. The carved fish in your pouch vibrates in response. You're not even surprised anymore. You know what this beach is called? She asks. You shake your head. She smiles. This is where the silver fish rose. Ah, so we're already doing prophecies tonight. Great. Once, she begins, there was a princess who didn't want to marry. Not because she didn't love, but because she already loved too many things. The sea, the storms, the way barnacles talk when no one's listening. You nod. You know the feeling. So she made a dress. The girl continues. Out of fish, scales and rope, and she danced at the edge of the reef until the fish rose to meet her. Silver fish, you say quietly. She nods. They had no shadows. That was the deal. If they gave her the gift of speaking through tides, she would give them her shadow. And did she? She smiles sadly. She never walked in sunlight again. You pause. That seems a little steep. She didn't mind. The girl says. She wasn't meant for shadows. She was meant for mirrors. You both stop walking. The tide pulls back dramatically, revealing slick stones, stranded coral, and something else, a dress, laid across the sand like it just slipped off someone's shoulders. It glints in the starlight. You step closer. Fish, scales, thousands. No thread, just layer upon layer, overlapping like feathers on a divine bird. It pulses with the tide. Not wet, not dry, just waiting. She left it, the girl says, for someone who could walk with the sea and the land, who could hear fish and speak back. You open your mouth to protest. You're not a princess, not a dancer, not even particularly well balanced on sand. But the dress knows you. It flares. You blink, and suddenly you're wearing it. It weighs nothing, but it's full of gravity. The pendant on your neck tightens, binding itself to the center of your chest. The fish in your palm fuses with the scales, disappearing without fear, and then the sea rises. Not a wave, a figure. Tall. Shimmering. Not human. Fish. Something between. It speaks with no mouth, just vibration, pressure, light. You understand anyway. The moon is red. Yes, you remember the prophecy, and your feet have learned the current. Yes, you've danced with caves, with sharks, with silence. You must speak to the storm. You pause. How? It says nothing. Instead, the water around you shapes itself into waves, into symbols, into rhythm, and you realize you're being taught the storm's language. Not to avoid it, not to defeat it, but to converse with it. The figure touches your forehead and vanishes. You fall back onto the sand, the dress dissolving into foam, and the girl gone. But in the distance, across the water, lightning, a low rumble. You've been invited, not to fight the storm, but to answer it. You sit up slowly, soaked but calm. The pendant pulses with a single note, ready, and from somewhere deep in your memory the king's voice returns. When it speaks, it will have my voice. And now, that voice is yours. The storm doesn't crash in like a villain in a storybook. It approaches, slow and deliberate, like a dignitary or a very well-fed cat. The wind picks up first, not sharp, but insistent. It moves through the trees and along your skin with a certain tone. Not cold, not warm, just important. You walk toward it. Of course you do. There's a path, now a proper one, stone-lined, half overgrown, flanked by torch ginger and sleeping ferns. It winds upward toward a hill you hadn't noticed before, and as you climb, the wind grows more melodic. You hear it shift in octaves, like it's tuning itself around your breath. At the top, a clearing and a table, not wood. Not stone. This one is salt, a slab carved from a giant coral bed, its surface pocked with fossilized shells, and the imprints of ancient fish mouths. Around it sit 7 elders, their faces marked with time, their clothes patched from sailcloth and ceremonial kappa. Each one holds a bowl. Each bowl holds something different. You recognize some: roasted breadfruit, a smoked ahi collar, sliced mango the color of sunrise. Others are unfamiliar chunks of grayish something wrapped in tea leaves, seaweed that glistens like glass threads. They look up as you enter. You're late, one says, smiling gently. You brought the rain, says another, nodding toward the sky. It's true. The first drops begin to fall slow, wide, warm, not angry, not yet. You're invited to sit here. Do. The elder closest to you picks up his bowl and holds it out. You lean forward. Inside is a tiny fish, dried, flat, wrapped in banana fiber. You recognize it. It's the Ia Maka, you all, the fearless fish, a deep-sea swimmer known in legend to navigate storms by swimming into the current instead of away. Said to be blind, but able to see with its bones. He places it into your palm, and suddenly, you understand what this dinner is. Not a meal, map. Each dish is a direction, a kind of compass. You're being given the coordinates not for land or latitude, but for understanding. The storm is not to be avoided, it is to be answered. You eat slowly. Each bite tastes like something deeper than food. The salt is memory, the fish is muscle, the mango is forgiveness, and the seaweed, truth. You finish. The elders nod as one and rise. No words, no farewells. They each walk into the forest and vanish. You remain alone with the salt table, and the pendant on your chest glows softly. The wind picks up again, but this time it's rhythmic. You stand and begin to move. Your arms rise, mirroring the mango tree branches swaying nearby. Your knees bend low, echoing the crouch of shoreline crabs. Your shoulders roll, mimicking the rhythm of swell against reef. It is not a dance anyone taught you, but it knows you. Your body vibrates with it, and the storm pauses. The clouds hold back, watching. You step forward one pace at a time into the open. The rain begins in earnest now, but it doesn't strike you. It falls with you, each droplet a drumbeat on your skin. Then you hear it, laughter, warm, joyful, you. Look to the side and see 3 children dancing in the rain beside you, barefoot, arms out, giggling. Then more joined, old men with shaky knees, women with weathered hands, aunties in muyu with bare feet and fierce eyes. They're not dancing in lines, they're not coordinated, but they are together, a living pulse, a single offering. You all raise your arms to the sky and sing, not lyrics, just sound, low, rising like steam off lava, rising into the heart of the clouds. The pendant on your neck flares, the storm groans, and then you hear it, from deep within the clouds, a reply, thunder, but not angry, language. The storm is answering you, and the fish, they leaped from the sea below, one by one, flipping in sync with the wind. Holhol, Akul, Pelu, all dancing. This is not a battle, this is a conversation. You dance until your legs ache, you sing until your breath is gone, and then, the storm bows, a lightning bolt curves gently into the scene, not a strike, but a signature. The clouds part, the sky clears, the world exhales, you fall to your knees, soaked, exhausted, smiling. The people vanish, only the memory of their movement remains, etched in the grass like footprints in time, and your fish-carved stone, nestled near your heart, is now warm as sunlight. You did not control the storm, you understood it, and it listened. The world is soft now, like breadfruit, fresh from the imustimi, yielding, full of memory. You walk slowly, not out of exhaustion, though your calves are giving quiet protest, but out of reverence. The path ahead isn't paved with lava rock, or lined with torches. It's simpler, sand, ferns, fallen hibiscus blossoms that glow faintly in the moonlight like the island. Left you breadcrumbs in petal form. The tide has pulled back farther than you've ever seen it, way back, exposing tide pools, coral heads, sunken canoes, and a ship. No, a canoe, massive, ancient, its wood darkened with age, its sail tattered yet proud. It rests not on water, but cradled by the reef like a relic that the sea decided to share for one night only. You're drawn to it. The air buzzes not loud, but charged. You've felt this before, just before a fish speaks, just before a dance begins. On the canoe's deck sits a woman. She's tall, her hair is long, thick, streaked with copper. Her skin shimmers not glittery, but like light rippling over water. She hums as she weaves. What is she weaving? A sail, but not of cloth, of fish scales, thousands of them, all silver, all glinting in perfect mathematical chaos. That you approach. She doesn't look up. You're the tide walker, she says. You pause. Is that a good thing? She shrugs. Depends how well you walk. She finishes one panel and dips it into a wooden bowl filled with seawater and crushed sea urchin spines. The sail hisses, then it stills. You've danced, she says. You've listened, but have you learned to remember? You start to answer, but she raises a hand. Not your memories, she says. Theirs. She gestures to the sea, to the fish, to the bones tucked in your pouch, now clicking quietly like teeth gossiping in the dark. She leads you to the edge of the canoe, where a ladder drops into a tide pool that shouldn't be this deep. You need to go in, she says. You hesitate, because that pool, it moves like it's breathing, but of course you go, because you've walked this far. You step in, it's cold, sharp, instant, and you fall not down, but inward. Suddenly you're swimming, but not through water. Through moments. You see a man dancing under a red moon, his arms spelling out reef patterns for his son. You see a child being taught to slap the water 3 times to call in the uhu. You see women weaving nets, not with rope, but with story, each not a chant, each loop a memory. You see fish. So many fish. Swimming in circles, then breaking free. They pass through you, and with them, knowledge of where the currents twist in winter, of how the tides shift before an earthquake, of when the mullet leap because they've heard thunder 6 miles away. You gasp. And rise, back in the tide pool. Dripping. Shivering. Glowing. The woman on the canoe hands you a small gourd inside. Oil, glowing faintly, the same oil you were given in the cave, but now it pulses with you. Memory, she says, to be used only when the path disappears. You nod, because this time you understand. You climb back onto the canoe and sit with her. She weaves another panel of sail. You'll sail soon, she says. Sail where? She smiles, tired but kind. To where the fish speak first. That doesn't clear things up, but then she lifts her head, and in the sky, you see it. A shape, long, curved, silver, a fish, enormous, swimming through the sky itself. No wings, no fins, just pure movement. A streak of starlight shaped like something, ancient and wet and intentional. You watch, breathless. They've chosen you, she says. Why me? You're the one who listened long enough to ask. You look down at your hands. They're not different, but they feel like they've carried nets for 1,000 years. She presses a tiny scale into your palm. It's from the first fish, she says. You don't ask what that means. You don't have to. You feel it. You tuck it into your pouch. Alongside the bones, the stone, the pendant, the oil. Your collection isn't just relics anymore. It's language, it's access. And as you walk down from the canoe, back to the beach, back to wherever this journey leads next, you know the fish will be there. In the tide, in the clouds, in your step, waiting for the next question. Tonight, the sky wears its stars like jewelry, messy, mismatched, but dazzling. The air is slow and warm, like it's been holding its breath since yesterday. And the moon is hanging lower than usual, heavy and yellow like a mango left too long. On the tree you walk along a narrow ridge that curves like a question mark over the ocean. Below, waves crash, not in chaos, but in rhythm. You know that rhythm now. It's the same beat your feet fell into back in the caves, the same sway that brought the flying fish, the same breath that told the storm your name. At the top of the ridge stands a stone. Tall, not grand, but alive. You can feel it in your chest before you even touch it. It's smooth in some places, rough in others, and carved deep into its face is a riddle, not in words, in fish. 6 of them, etched in relief. A wrasse, a goatfish, an eel, a Thames, a puffer, and a shrimp. They swim in a spiral that ends in the center, where a shallow hollow holds a pool of water no bigger than your palm. You crouch beside it and peer in. No reflection. Instead, a shimmer, a flicker, a face, not yours. A fish face, blue, iridescent, with deep, wide eyes and gill lines that pulse like veins. And it speaks, not with sound, but with movement. Its fins flick once, then twice, then 3 times in rhythm. You recognize the pattern. It's a code, the listening chant you learned on Lanai. You answer by tapping the stone. Beside the pool, the fish's eyes glow then. In your mind you hear the words, you have asked too many questions. Now, it is your turn to answer. You inhale and nod. The water in the stone ripples, and suddenly you're underwater. Not drowning, not cold, just immersed. The world around you shifts into blue and green, and surrounding you are hundreds of fish. Not random. Specific. Each one pulsing, with intent. You recognize them. Some from meals, some from dances, some from dreams. One swims forward, a small red fish with a mouth that moves without sound. It asks a question. What is the shape of the wind on the day you first danced? You pause and answer not with words, but with movement. Your arms curve, your hands flutter, your body leans into memory. The fish nods, another swims forward. A translucent angelfish with eyes like mirrors. What do you remember when you taste salt? You close your eyes and see the king asleep. Mumbling prophecy, the old woman's cave, the children in the rain. You touch your tongue to your lips and smile. The angelfish flashes gold, then vanishes. One by one, the fish ask. You don't speak. You move. You remember. You become answers. And then, a shadow. Huge. Silent. A shape beneath you. Rising. Slowly. Carefully. A fish, unlike any you've seen. Larger than a canoe. Wider than a house. It rises and stops just below you. Close enough to see the constellation of scars across its back. It speaks not in riddle. Not in chant. In truth. You carry more than memory. You carry permission. You reach into your pouch. The bones click. The pendant warms. The fish-carved stone vibrates. You lift them all and they float from your hands. they hover above you like a mobile. Turning slowly in the water, the great fish closes its eyes, and when it opens them you're back. On the ridge, kneeling beside the stone, the hollow pool is empty, now dry. But in your hands is a new object, a stone tablet, thin as glass, etched with the spiral of the 6 fish, and in its center, something new, a 7th fish. One you've never seen. Its tail is split in 2, its eyes closed, its body coiled like a question mark, and underneath it, a line you somehow know how to read. The one who understands does not chase the fish. They learn to wait where it turns. You wrap the tablet in cloth and place it gently in your pouch. It is heavier than the others, but not burdensome, just true. You descend from the ridge as dawn begins to lean over the sea, and somewhere beneath the waves, something enormous swims in a slow circle, waiting, watching, smiling. The world is hushed, not quiet hushed, like a theater just before the curtain rises, or a forest when the wind changes direction. The kind of silence that isn't empty but full, brimming with anticipation. You're walking a slope now, one of the tallest on the island. Grass brushes your ankles, thick and cool. Each blade seems to bow slightly as you pass. Above, Mauna Kea pierces the sky, its snowy cap glowing faintly under the rising sun. Clouds drift around its waist like robes, and the sky has softened into lavender and ash. You don't remember starting this climb, but you do remember the pull, and now, you know why. At the summit, there is a circle of stones, old, weathered, each marked with fish carvings and shell fragments. In the center lies a patch of volcanic glass, smoothed over centuries. It reflects the sky so perfectly you almost expect to fall through it. You kneel beside it. Your pouch, impossibly full, presses against your ribs like a second heartbeat. You reach in and remove the fish bones, the hair pendant, the memory stone, the scale, the oil, the etched tablets. They form a ring around you, an offering of movement and memory. And now you wait. Not long. From the opposite side of the stone circle comes drumming, not from hands, from feet. A figure approaches. At first they seem like shadow outlined in mourning, light, draped in a cloak that billows like sea foam. Then the steps grow clearer, measured, grounded, heavy with purpose. It's the king, but not as before. No feathers, no royal cloak, just a simple woven sash, bare feet dusted with ash, and eyes as deep as tide pools in a moonless night. He doesn't speak, he dances. You've seen hula, you've seen ritual, but this is different. It's not a plea, not a story, it's a summoning. His feet strike the volcanic glass with force, then gentleness, then force again, in rhythms that don't match any beat, yet feel right. His hands slice the air like fins. His shoulders rise and drop in time with invisible swells. His spine arches as though mimicking the curve of a breaching whale, and as he moves, the mountain listens. The air grows thicker, the stone glows faintly underfoot, and your bones, they vibrate in harmony. He turns to you and gestures, not a command, an invitation. You rise and begin to move. At first it's clumsy, your hip stutters, your foot catches on a stone, but then something locks in, a breath, a beat, a step. You match him, and the circle begins to hum. The stones glow faintly, and from the center of the glass a light, not a reflection, a source, a shape rises. It's not a fish. It's not a person. It's both. It's neither. It's movement itself, and it dances with you, around you, through you. Its arms are waves, its spine is wind, its eyes are the very first raindrops to ever fall, and it speaks not with sound, but with motion. You understand every step, because now you don't watch dance, you are it. You remember every fish you followed, every whisper in a cave, every child's giggle in the rain, the silver dress, the shark, the storm, the chant, the questions, all of it. One movement. One truth. You are dancing with the memory of every king who danced before you, and every fish who answered, and every tide that listened. You spin, you stomp, you breathe in rhythm with the mountain. The light flares, and then stillness. The figure vanishes, the king bows, and disappears into morning fog. You fall to your knees, shaking not from fear, from completion. The volcanic glass beneath you is now cool, wet, etched with a spiral of fish, prints real ones, as if they swam across the surface moments ago. Your pouch, empty. Everything is gone, except the dance, which is now part of your bones. You stand, The sky is lightening into full morning. Below, the island breathes, and from the edge of a far-off reef, you hear it: :1, single dot, slap, dot, a fishtail against water. The signal has been sent. You are no longer asking. You are no longer listening. You are now part of the message. You descend from the mountains slowly, barefoot, one step at a time. Like each pace is a ceremony. The grass presses cool against your soles, and for the first time, you feel the island rising to meet you with every step. It's not just something beneath you now, it's something with you. No one greets you at the bottom, but you're not alone. The trees lean inward, just slightly as you pass, like they're bowing, not dramatically, just enough for you to notice. A breeze trails behind you like a cloak. Birds fly overhead in a rhythm that matches the lingering beat still in your chest. And somewhere in the distance, water laps gently against a shore you haven't seen yet. You walk toward it. The forest opens into a lagoon so clear, it looks like it's made of glass and breath. The surface is still, reflecting the sky perfectly. Except there's no reflection of you. Only fish swimming in slow spirals beneath the surface, waiting, not as prey, not as spectacle, as witnesses. You step to the water's edge, your pouch once so full is light now, and when you reach into it, your fingers close around one final thing. A single tea leaf, fresh, green, untouched, you. Remember what it's for, not to wave, not to bless, to begin. You step into the water, and they come. First one, then a dozen, then hundreds. Fish, of every shape and shimmer, ohu kala, manini, monohi, shrimp with whiskers like even the silver fish with no shadow. They swim around you in silence, but their silence is not emptiness. It is trust, and then you dance, not for them, with them. Every movement is a memory given back, a thank you in the form of muscle, a farewell in the form of rhythm. Your feet barely touch the sand, your arms ripple like seaweed caught in a current, and your breath flows like tide, steady, generous, ancient. Above, the clouds stretch and yawn, golden at the edges. The sun is just beginning to rise. You spin once more, and the fish turn to their bodies, flash in the morning light like a constellation reassembled just for you. Then one by one they swim away. No frenzy, no frenzy, no rush, just a gentle dispersing, like they've finished their part of the story. You step back onto land, soaked but glowing, and behind you, the lagoon still ripples quiet, radiant, holding the dance like a dream remembered. Your journey is done, not the end of your walking, or your listening, or your dancing. Just the end of the question now. When you move, the island moves with you. The wind carries your hum. The ocean hears your silence. And when fish pass in the current, they flick their fins just so, because they know you're one of them now. The one who danced to speak, and the one who listened long enough to understand. You close your eyes, and the world exhales. No footsteps, no sound, just the low hum of the sea whispering, rest now. You danced well. We'll remember. Now, dim the lights a little more. Let the air fall still. Let the tide slow in your ears. You've walked far. You've heard much. There's no need to hold it anymore. Just breathe. Let the shore dissolve. Let the reef fade. Let the fish swim past your dreams.